guys, what's going on? You are listening to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, but I'm not alone as we begin to wind things down here at the TWIG studios. But hey, for you Americans, I hear Thanksgiving is this weekend, although according to Alex, he came from the future.
Yeah, well, by wind down, it means we're not shutting down forever. We're just going to take our Christmas break.
Yeah, exactly.
and yes, like if you go by all the advertisements that we were receiving and all the press emails and everything, I was under the impression that Black Friday was this past week.
Yeah.
because for whatever reason, Black Friday, not Black Friday week deals, Black Friday deals started last week, even though the holiday wasn't for another week. That doesn't make any sense to me. And I've never seen that before. Me.
Yeah, like when you send in your coverage, because we have an internal kind of Facebook chat between all of us here. Like there's me, Alex, Liam, occasionally Ken, and JT. We're like, oh yeah, it's Black Friday. And like you said, judging by the emails we get, the flyers we get, some of the Twitter accounts we follow, we're like, all right, cool, we're going to get a jump on this. And then I hear some American podcasts and they're talking about Thanksgiving weekend this week. I'm like, wait, what?
Well, and not to mention some of our friends and collaborators they're like, oh, we're going on vacation now. I'm like, okay, I didn't realize they meant they were taking the week before Thanksgiving off.
Yeah, it's
so I thought they were leaving on Thanksgiving and then staying away for a week. So it's like, oh, Americans do things backwards. When we take our holidays after the main holiday.
Yeah, it's so bizarre because I remember there was I was listening to, I think it was CNN or something, and they were talking about how this is the busiest time of the year for airports and stuff like that. And that's what made me think, oh yeah, it's going to be Thanksgiving weekend, but whatever.
Well, and add into the fact that just so much was going on, had so much to do. Like I was up for 2 days straight trying to get things done. I'm like, oh my God, how are we not ready for Black Friday yet? And it turns out it didn't need to be.
Yeah. So anyway, guys, I guess have a happy Thanksgiving. We are going to have another show next weekend, which does mean I have to front load this show with a little bit of info. Okay. So our annual holiday gift guide is going to be launching on December 12th. So you've all known that for a while. But the last live show, like the last regular show, is going to be on December 5th. And that means we're taking that entire week to prep for the holiday gift guide, which means we have a lot of stuff to play, a lot of stuff to watch, a lot of stuff to kind of talk about, and probably one last visit physically before Christmas, before things happen and we record our TWIG commentary for the end of the year, which is Ernest Saves Christmas, and just making sure we are all ready for that. So just that's a little bit of a programming note. So as we often mention, what we have done this past week here on the show in our personal lives, man, I'm trying to think, what the hell have I really been doing this week? I've been doing some homework in my college course, which I'm taking through the local college of Conestoga. Final project's coming up real friggin' fast, so I'm kind of glad we're taking the time off because my final project is due on the 21st, and then I start my next course on January 11th. And I decided what I was going to take. I thought about taking one of my compulsories, but I'm just going to take another elective for right now, and this is probably where Alex will probably laugh at me. I'm going to take poetry as my next creative writing endeavor.
If I was going to laugh at you, I would have laughed at you when you took the romance one.
Actually, it's so strange. This course, some of it is really, really insightful, and some of it is like, why are we learning this before we're putting pen to paper? Like next week, I think we have a course kind of feedback section week, and I'm actually going to say, I don't think you should be teaching this at the start. This should be saved till the end. Like, I'd rather learn the creative process first before I learn the business aspect of it first. And like I said, that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
to kind of talk about.
That's, who knows what their reasoning is behind it. Maybe there's a specific order that they sort of expected you to take the courses in.
Yeah, it's very strange. Other than that, though, in terms of actually playing games, I finally got to play the Halo multiplayer for Halo Infinite. I can also say I am officially reviewing Halo Infinite's campaign, but I don't know when I'm getting access. I'm gonna guess probably very, very, very soon, just judging by some of the chatter I'm seeing among other reviewers right now.
Well, and so it's the kind of thing where they probably are gonna, like, you won't know till the morning that you get an email like, "Hey, we've released it onto your account."
Yeah, pretty much. So I'm really, really, really hoping it's good. And it's so strange because we're coming away from, or I'm coming back to Halo since playing Guardians a number of years ago. And I've been a Call of Duty player and Titanfall player since, so my reflexes are different. And it was an experience. I mean, it was really fun. I had more fun playing Halo multiplayer for about an hour than I did playing Call of Duty Vanguard multiplayer. However, though, me and Liam were playing last night because it was a quadruple XP weekend or something. And
AKA the We're Desperate Please Play Our Game weekend.
yeah, and it's funny because we said in our review for COD, which came out on the weekend, wait for a weekend, and almost as if we knew by prophecy. Well, if you want to try the game, give it a whirl. And Liam at first got really, really, really annoyed, and then he figured out the zen of the non-movement. Basically, he found the fun of being a camper in utterly chaotic maps. There's two maps. There's one called Shipment, which is really, really, really small. You will die within a few seconds. And there's another one which is called Kill House or Der House or something. And it's a little more strategic, but you can lock down lanes. And it's basically high kill counts. One guy I saw had 111 kills, which, by the way, last night we played with Helen Keller, Benito Mussolini, Bobo the Clown, and Lord Beerus from Dragon Ball Z.
As in that was their actual names? Or
yeah. Which I love the fact that there was some really strange names.
That Helen Keller one, that's pretty offensive.
But me and Liam were like, wait, what? You just got killed by Helen Keller? And we had to go back and watch his kill cam. We're like, yeah, Helen Keller killed you.
It's like, you know, yeah, I mean, that's very mid-2000s humor right there.
It was very strange. Other than that, I guess for me, finally, I decided I've been taking some time to watch something for me, and I'm giving you my update on my Dragon Ball Super watch. I am up to episode 40 of Dragon Ball Super. Now it's getting exciting because some of these characters I've only played with in Dragon Ball Xenoverse. I had no idea who they were. Now I'm thinking, oh, you're that dude from Universe 6. Well, cool.
You're on episode 40, meaning, you know, at episode 10, when Goku decided to go take a shit, he finally came out of the bathroom.
Exactly.
You remember the pacing of DBZ back in the 90s.
Oh my god, do I ever. I remember the Frieza saga, because me and my friends used to have tapes for it, because they would tape it off of local cable, and it would take up like 4 or 5 tapes before he went Super Saiyan, like from when Krillin died till the end of that fight and Namek blew up. We're like, holy shit, please just kill him.
Not just that, or even better was how long it took him to train inside of the hyper chamber.
Yeah, like, Jesus Christ, I get it. You're punching Kicky now. Just can we hurry up and kill Cell already?
That show, the only thing that's really memorable about it, like outside of, you know, the excitement of being a kid watching it, was how much my dad would make fun of us for watching it. To the point where he would just run by screaming, wah, 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 and he'd like try to like make his face and contort it to look like Goku.
That's what I love about that show now. I can't help but think of your dad every time.
He would go there, he'd be like, why? He goes, why are their eyes so exaggeratedly big? Like he had never seen anime before, right? He's like, what is going on here? Wow. And then he walks in and one day, and he's not screaming, and he's just laughing, and I realize it's because he's become completely enamored with Mr. Popo. He goes, that made it into the cartoon? I'm like, what? Like now I look at it, it's basically Blackface Genie, right? But like,
yeah.
And he goes, what's his name? I'm like, Mr. Popo. And he starts laughing. No, what's his real name? I'm like, Mr. Popo. And he's like, and he looks like that and talks like that? I'm like, yes. And so every time we watch a TV show, if I have an anime on, he'll walk by, he's like, is that the one with Mr. Popo? And this is 20 some odd years later, 25 years later.
I love your dad. So what has your week been like other than Mr. Popo?
Catching up on some stuff. I basically caught up on all the review games that I was playing. So I went back and I spent the weekend playing Halo because we were going to play through a playthrough together. We did Reach, and we did the first like 2 missions of the original Halo Combat Evolved. What is it? Anniversary remastered, whatever they call it. It's the second remastering that they did for the Master Chief Collection. And I went through and played all of it. There's a weird glitch with the Master Chief Collection. I had never played the games before, ever. But when I install the game and turn it on, nobody's ever had access to my account. It somehow magically said I had unlocked all the levels in the entire collection, like where I could do like level select completion, and I had all the skulls and all that stuff. It's like, it's not possible. But then I look and I have no achievements for it, so clearly I didn't unlock them. But there's a problem there. I looked, and apparently some people have that. It's just random. It's a glitch. So I beat every level except for I think one of them in Halo 3, where I was like, this is taking too long, and it says like par course time 30 minutes. So I just jumped forward to the next mission. So I have beat them all. It's just one mission I didn't do. But in going through it, I'll have to say this, and people are going to hate me. Halo 1 is not a good game. It's if you look at it, it's like, oh, it's great. It was the most amazing game when it came out. It's like, I played Time Splitters. I played other games that were shooters at that time. Was it the best Xbox game, the killer app? Yeah, probably. 2001, was it a pretty good shooter? Yeah. Doesn't hold up. The story isn't very good. The gameplay mechanics aren't very good. It got way better with later games. And I was like, I don't understand why people even like Halo. And then I played the second game and I went, okay, the story is so much better. And just the improvements they made to the combat, and it's not just corridor after corridor repeating itself over and over again where everything looks the same, you can get lost. It is like unique areas. I do like the idea that like they throw you in there like, oh wow, you switch and you actually play as the bad guy, in quotes, right? With the Arbiter. And I'm like, and that's Keith David. I was like, I know that voice. And then I played the third one, laughed at how bad the third one looks compared to the first two, because they did that full remaster of the first two, and I think it was the Halo 5 engine. Is that what they did?
I think so, yeah.
At least for the cutscenes, for sure. And so the third game, I think the third game is weaker as a whole. Isn't that the one where you for years on like the podcast, you're like, finish the fight?
Yeah. Although my favorite split off from that is ODST. ODST was my favorite.
That's the one with Nathan Fillion, right?
Yes, as Buck.
Yeah. Okay. So I played that. I thought that was good too. It's shorter. But yeah, that was good. The fourth game, the fourth and fifth game are basically Mass Effect.
Yeah. With the Prometheans and all the stupid shit.
The Forerunners are basically just fucking
nicer Reapers.
Well, no, they're from the previous cycle, and then it's like, okay, and the Flood and the Halo and all. It's like, okay, it's Mass Effect. It's clearly Mass Effect. And the fourth game, I thought I could see why people maybe were divided on it. It took a little bit of liberties with certain things. I find that the controls on the 343 games like 4 and 5 are much better. It's much more natural feeling, and your movement is not as clunky. You can feel like you know exactly where you're going. There's the boosters, there's the running, the jumping. It feels a lot more modern, for lack of a better term, and better than anything that like Bungie does on Destiny 1 and 2. I'll tell you right now, Bungie's an overrated company. I feel like people love them because like they were the only company doing that sort of stuff 15 years ago, but this is better. And then I went and played 5 today because it's not part of that collection, but it was one of the games that came with my console when I bought it a couple years ago. I just never played it, and they filling back is cool. I like where they're going with it. I had to play it because I needed to see what was going to happen with Infinite, and I'm pretty happy overall. I like the mission variety in it a fair bit. I'm never going to get all the collectibles, so I'm going to have to look it up online. I'm not going to find the skulls. I'm not going to be the person that does all that fancy dancy shit that way. But I did enjoy myself with it. There are some aspects, obviously, like where I would nitpick and be like, oh, they could do this better, they could do that better. And then I played the instead of the multiplayer for Infinite, I did the training mission where you get a couple trophies or a couple achievement points for doing that. And I gotta say, I'm liking the feel of it, the gravity, the movement. Again, I'll be interested to play maybe some multiplayer with you guys, but I'm ready for the single player, which is in what, like 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's supposed to come out on, I think, December 8th, I think, is the proposed launch date, I think.
Yeah.
So,
So
yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to have. I can actually talk Halo with you, and you'll know what the hell I'm actually kind of talking about. So,
now
yeah,
I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do Gears of War because I've tried it 3 or 4 times and I hate the controls and how slow it is.
Gears is an acquired taste, and I find it gets better after the original trilogy. I mean, I really like 4 and 5,
Like
but 5 I had some trouble with because it's a little too open. But that's a discussion for a different
we'd
day.
have to do that co-op sometime and see, maybe play through the definitive edition and see how that works, because I'm like 2 missions in and I'm like, I'm so bored. I'd rather
Yeah,
be talking with somebody.
yeah, it does get significantly better kind of later on. However, speaking of things that are coming up later on, it's time to talk about this week's show. So, coming up for reviews, we have one that I've been working on for a while, and I'm kind of glad that I took my time with it, especially after seeing this particular movie. We're going to be talking about Koei Tecmo's Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water. So, ghosts and spirit photography, something I actually do have an actual kind of interest in. And Alex, I understand you've got a pair of reviews for us.
Yes, I do, certainly do. I just gotta pull them up in my brain because I had so many come out in the last couple of days. I believe we have. Let me pull up my list because I actually wrote that down so that I wouldn't forget. We have Riders Republic. That is the downhill multi-vehicle type of open world racing game from our friends over at Ubisoft, as well as Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, the sort of semi remastered version on the Switch. I was going to say semi remastered because it's not really a remaster, it's just done in widescreen for the first time.
Okay, so we will be taking a look at all that and more right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. Once again, I've been Mike the Birdman. That's Alice the producer. So let's go off to a galaxy far, far away. This is Knights of the Old Republic on the Nintendo Switch.
Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. One of the biggest games of its generation, and one that I never played. I didn't own an Xbox. I had a PC, but I wasn't really big into PC gaming when it originally came out. I had played some MMOs, I played things left and right, but I just, the Star Wars RPG, I was like, okay. I wasn't big into American style RPGs at the time. I was mostly, almost exclusively, a JRPG fan, with the exception of, I think it was like I played like Diablo, and I played a little bit of BioWare's Baldur's Gate, but not enough, and I didn't know enough about the studio to really understand, how great they were until Mass Effect. I think it was Dragon Age or Mass Effect 2 when I finally became a pretty big fan. I just never went back and got it because I owned a copy of it on Xbox when I bought an old Xbox to play stuff on back in the day. Lost my copy, then prices went up, and then there was the PC version, which is funny because I think I own it on Steam, but I'm just not somebody who's going to sit down on a PC and play these games. And I was worried that the control scheme wouldn't translate to consoles, and there was a lot involved there. Except it ends up being, ported at one point to, I think, Android, which again, I was like, why would I play that on my phone? Like, that seems like a weird thing to do. And then I believe that version is what we're getting presented with now on Switch. So, it's kind of funny that it took all these iterations, it took all these versions to finally get me to play it. And it finally comes out, and it was, Aspire Gaming, who we heard announce that they're making the full reimagining or remake of it. And I think that's the biggest project they've ever done, because they're mostly, at least we know them as, a company that ports games to the Switch from other platforms, usually I think the mobile version first and then over, sometimes not. But I was like, okay, you know what, it's time to play it. Let's play this game. And I was pretty happy with the results. There's some issues that I will have to mention at the beginning. There's a pretty big issue. It crashes a fair bit. And I mean, I'll say this, it's not for me, lack of trying other options, trying different things. I have the game installed, downloaded I have two different Switches. So on my Switch that I have, which is the revision of the original, it's not the original, like, brand, 2017 Switch. I replaced that with the revision one that had the slightly better battery and whatnot with it. So I have that one docked in my living room with a high quality, very good high quality SD card, micro SD card in there that I know works with everything, and it's installed to there. And then for portable use, I have the game installed to the internal drive on my brand new Switch OLED edition, and it looks fantastic on there. But the issue arises on both consoles, on both different types of media storage. It's not a problem with any of my storage on my consoles. It must have crashed. And when I say crash, I mean crashed completely, where it goes bleep, an error has occurred, and it closes on the Switch to the main menu. And it happened probably 50 to 100 times during my playthrough. It's a pretty serious issue that is probably something very easily patched out. So I was holding off on my review for a day just to see if there will be a patch that comes out to address it, but nothing I can see currently. I know they will patch it, but it appears to be when you're going certain areas, when it's loading data or loading streaming data from the drive. I guess it would be for maybe textures or areas of the map loading, going into doors, going around corners. Sometimes I think when it's loading up the music or something, you can tell it's when it's going to load something that would normally make a game stutter for a second, where you'd see like a second before things pop in. It'll just crash. Boom, gone. And it was at least 50 times it happened in my playthrough of 20-ish hours. I played it because of this, and because of the worry that it was going to be a problem, because I lost several hours of play while I was playing. I had to keep saving. I had 10 save files where every 5 minutes I would save to a different save file and then rotate through them. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, then start over on number 1 and keep going that way. I shouldn't have to do that, but this is the most crashing game I've experienced. That, again, I know is going to be patched. It's not a problem with the game itself. It's some sort of optimization problem with something it's calling. It's giving it a memory issue or something. There's something that's making it crash, like a Stack Overflow or whatever. I'm not technical enough to know exactly what that is, but I have to mention that at the beginning, that it's pretty glaring that's a problem with it. And again, multiple consoles, different install methods. It shouldn't be doing this. And maybe I've heard it happen once or twice with certain games, but it's happening. It happened more here than I had with Cyberpunk when that came out. So that gives you an idea. That being said, everything else about this is fantastic. The frame rate seems to be a lock 60 FPS. The graphics are visually more impressive than they were, obviously, on the original Xbox. I think it's either 720p or 1080p, but it is proper widescreen. It's not like it's cropped at the sides. The audio sounds good. The only thing that's a bit of a downside is they clearly either really compressed, or like they didn't re-render or grab a higher resolution copy of the original video files for that would be airing as cutscenes. And what they did put there, it looks like they applied a pretty heavy video compression to make the game a little smaller to fit. Like they're rendering it, even though the video would have been 480i or 480p, they're upsampling it to whatever the current resolution is in the system, which takes up space. So like a 720p or 1080p video, all those little clips could be like 4 or 5 gigs. Well, they've shrunk them down to be so much smaller, so they'd either fit on a cart or just reduce the download size overall, which I think is a little detrimental because it's a pretty glaring problem that it was hard to see what was going on. I have a 65-inch 4K TV, and blowing it up that big with that kind of, I was seeing like 2-inch size pixels in certain areas, right? Like of compression artifacts. But that is, again, a side effect of it being a port. That doesn't, it's not anything against the original developers of BioWare or even Aspyr. They're working with certain limitations with the Switch. I would like to see what happens if they end up making a port of this, because I have not played the version that's available on Xbox in backwards compat. But I would be interested to see what would happen if Aspyr could if they could transcode or whatever the video to a higher data rate on, like, say, a PS5 and get a PS5 version. Maybe with the more memory and more whatever, and because it's being closer to a PC, it might not crash. It might be something to do with this being a port of, I believe it's a port of the mobile version versus a straight port of the PC version. Whereas if you were doing it to a newer version of Xbox or doing it to PS5, being that they're x86 processors, it would be a lot easier to port the PC version, which wouldn't have this sort of issue. So that outside of this, the game-breaking bug that crashes, and luckily it has an autosave feature that saves often enough but you still want to make sure you keep extra saves. Outside of that, I have no complaints. So again, it's something that can be hot fixed, that will fix, any issues I have with it. So it does take it down a peg as far as my recommendation, only because if it's not fixed and addressed, then there's serious problems with this game. But it's something that I think will be addressed, so I wouldn't be too worried about it. Again, visually, it looks great for a game that came out 15 years ago or more, nearly 20 years ago. I can see where BioWare's flair for what would become Mass Effect came from. It's a little rough. It's not as fleshed out of an RPG as I was initially expecting, but I still enjoyed my time with it. I like the characters. The voice acting is pretty good, especially for the time. And I can see why this was sort of one of the most defining RPGs of its generation, and why it propelled, BioWare initially from being a PC RPG company that made pretty good, old school computer RPGs, to being sort of the premier. Like, it was them and Bethesda going head to head as being who is the top tier AAA Western RPG maker, and this is what really started giving them the run for their money on here. I'm pretty happy with the release. I think it's retailing for, I think it was like $15 US, something like that. Let me just double check right here. I am going to the Nintendo eShop page, and it won't tell me because I haven't redeemed. Let me see here. Let me see if I log out what'll happen, because I do think that it's a good game for sure. Actually, I'm going to open up in a new browser. Especially if it's not like a full retail price, then I would say definitely it's worth it, because there's a lot of content there. It doesn't have like a New Game Plus. It's from before a lot of games had that. Yes. So it's 15 US. So expect 20 Canadian. That's a good deal. Especially if they do fix the bugs, fix the damn bugs, fix that crash. Because otherwise, if they don't fix it and it's not fixed by like Christmas, I can't recommend the game. Because it is in a very buggy state where you could potentially lose your save game. But if they do fix it, or if you follow the rigid saving methodology that I did, you'll have a really good time with it. And I hope that we get more ports like this from them. And I'm very interested to see what they can do with the franchise from the ground up in the future.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek News.
All right, well, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, joined with Alex, the producer. All right, so we got a couple stories to dive into this week, and not a lot of time to do it in. So let's rock and roll, and let's head things off to the multiverse, so to speak. Warner Brothers officially announces Multiverse's fighting game. The long rumored Warner Brothers Super Smash Bros. Clone isn't a rumor anymore. Via IGN, Warner Brothers Games and Player First Games have officially unveiled Multiverse's fighting game. It's a free-to-play fighter for PC and consoles that will support cross-platform play. Additionally, it will draw upon some of the biggest characters from Warner Brothers' library of comics, live action, and animated icons. So far, the DC universes were represented by Batman, who's being voiced by Kevin Conroy, Superman voiced by George Newbern, Wonder Woman, Abby Trott, Harley Quinn will be Tara Strong. Maisie Williams is also reprising her role as Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. In fact, Player First Games has made it a point of bringing in as many of the original voice actors as possible. From Adventure Time, Jeremy Shada and John DiMaggio are back as Finn the Human and Jake the Dog, respectively. Steven Universe, Daniel Devener, I think that's the name. And this really surprised me. Additionally, Matthew Lillard is voicing Scooby-Doo's Shaggy as a surprisingly powerful fighter. And then it kind of goes on to say the guy who did Tom and Jerry and Bugs Bunny, Eric Bozzo, who I think's Canadian, actually. Andrew Farkle is also going to be playing as Rain Dog, a new character created for the game. So it's supposed to be 1v1, 2v2, and 4-player kind of free-for-all, very similar to like kind of Smash Brothers. So this is going to be available on pretty much everything. It's supposed to come out in 2022.
Everything but Switch.
Yeah, everything but
which says a couple things. One, that it can run on any hardware, and two, Nintendo doesn't want it.
Yeah, because, they don't want to compete against a Smash clone, which actually has a budget. The only thing that would come close would be Nick All-Star Brawl, which will probably be included in our holiday gift guide, if not maybe this coming week.
Especially since it's free.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to know how they're doing the free-to-play model. I guess you just pay for the characters you want, which is fine.
I'm thinking, well, they said the characters are all free.
Wow.
It's going to be for skins. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
skins and tags, and my guess is between certain rounds you might get an ad or two.
I mean, honestly, if they do the Fortnite model and they do the base game is free, and you can, like you said, you can buy skins and stuff, and there's like a season's pass.
As long as there's no pay to win mechanics, then we're good.
Yeah, exactly. Like, honestly, if you want to paywall some fighters, I'm okay with that, as long as they are not what's the word I'm looking for? Statistically superior to those in the base game. As like, you said, pay to win.
Like, as long as you don't get Ultra Instinct Shaggy locked behind a door, like that power move only works if you pay for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Do not, if they nickel and dime you for moves, then it's over.
Yeah. I mean, now if you say, hey, $5 for an Ultra Instinct Shaggy skin, not gonna lie, that's probably gonna be up my alley.
They showed him with a skin on where it makes him look like Bruce Lee in Game of Death with the yellow jumpsuit.
I was surprised for, like, there's a couple of frames of animation during that trailer. He does the Goku power up. So if he has if his final smash, which presumably that will happen, if he turns into Ultra Instinct Shaggy with like the silver and blue energy coming off of him, that's my main right there. Maybe Arya Stark too. You know what? It's a good idea, because this just killed Nick All-Star Brawl for two simple reasons. One, it's a developer that's got it's a publisher that's willing to put money into it. And two, voice acting. Done. Because, like, they've got Batman, they've got Tara Strong, two very heavy hitters in the voice acting industry. Plus, they got Maisie Williams back from Game of Thrones. That's not a small get. Like,
and it makes sense for her because she's a gamer, I think, herself.
Yeah. And Matthew Lillard coming back as Shaggy and not the guy who's been doing the voice in the cartoons the last couple of years.
Isn't he still doing the movies?
I think, yeah, but there hasn't been a live action movie in a long time.
I'm saying, wasn't there some weird thing where he was doing the he was doing the direct to video movies, but the TV shows are being done by somebody else.
That sounds about kind of right, actually. Yeah, but
I know it was in the news that he was shocked that one of the movies was coming out without him, and he didn't even know.
I think it was Scoob, the one that came out a couple of last year. I think it was.
Which, you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing because that looked bad.
You know what? I didn't mind it when I watched it. Like, I watched it twice, and I liked it more on the second viewing, but only because I'm a Hanna-Barbera fan of that older catalog.
Well, they said that everything Warner, anything and everything Warner is open and will be showing up at some point. That's why the rumor was that Gandalf was going to be in it. Instead, we got Arya Stark, but I'm wondering if that's because don't they own New Line Cinema?
Yeah, which means Freddy Krueger could show up, Jason could show up.
They would have to PG-ify most of those characters.
Oh yeah.
I would feel like Freddy would be a later edition. I think Lord of the Rings, they
will for sure. You will see Gandalf, or
there's probably still a bit of a licensing thing, because remember, the most recent deal with the estate is for Amazon to make a TV show.
But Warner Brothers also just put out that giant box set too.
Yeah, so they're probably waiting. Also, there's no Harry Potter.
Oh, my guess is for Harry Potter, you're going to get You're going to get at least 3 characters. You'll get Harry.
They don't want to touch her properties with a 10-foot pole for the next year. So I'm willing to bet that Harry, if they do data mining, he's probably already in the game and they took him out.
My guess is he'll be there, but as seasons pass content, because the Harry Potter money, despite how toxic the JK brand is, it still makes a lot of money. And it's actually funny. I was watching something on YouTube the other day, kind of related, but not. There's still a fairly powerful Harry Potter toy franchise going on right now. And that makes me think, you know what? For all the toxic bullshit she's done and being a TERF and all that, it still makes money, and eventually they're going to keep doing it.
Well, and you've already got Tom and Jerry. That was originally MGM Toons, I think, owned that.
Yep.
But we haven't seen anything from Hanna-Barbera show up yet, which means we're going to get the Flintstones. We're going to get
the Jetsons.
You're going to get, my guess, first and foremost, it would be like Yogi Bear.
Yep. Yogi. Maybe the Pink Panther.
I guess, okay, Hanna-Barbera, we have seen Scooby. So, you're going to get Yogi and the Flintstones probably more than anything.
Yeah.
Then the Jetsons will show up somehow with some sort of thing. I don't know if it'll be George or if it would be the robot.
Rosie, George Jetson, maybe Elroy and Astro as like an Ice Climbers type character. I could see that. Actually.
Yeah, and as far as like Cartoon Network stuff that they own,
oh my god, there's so much.
You're gonna Johnny Bravo probably.
Yep.
You'll get a Johnny Bravo because he'll not the hair, and he'll do something, do like a bunch of Elvis moves, and people will be happy with that. I'm thinking
Venture Brothers.
Yes.
Monarch.
Yeah, it'll be Brock Sampson probably showing up and doing a bunch of stuff. That's for our generation. I got to think of like people that are younger. Steven Universe is already in there, I think.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 characters from there.
But Samurai Jack.
Yep.
Samurai Jack is like and the Powerpuff Girls. Dexter's Laboratory. You could throw in a few different people. They're going to want to get the broadest appeal possible.
Yeah.
It's not our generation, but wasn't Ben 10 really popular?
Ben 10, I think, was a Nick thing, but I'm not 100% sure.
It's Cartoon Network. I was just looking it up.
Yeah, you'll have Ben in his best form because he'll have access to all like the really cool monsters.
And then here's the big question: how long does it take for Rick and Morty to show up?
Oh God, they'll guaranteed they'll be in the base game for sure.
Like that, like if you're talking about like if they're making you pay for seasons passes for extra characters, you want to have people really jump in. It's you have that, or you do something really out there, like you get Mike Tyson to show up from his Mike Tyson Mysteries.
It's too bad because the voice actor passed away earlier this year. If the announcer for the game was Pigeon.
Oh, by
from
Norm.
by Norm Macdonald. If he called the entire game of the year.
Here's the thing: you may not know. He might have recorded something for it.
That would have been
Because
funny.
this game's been in development for 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, who knows?
I mean, don't get your hopes up, but it's something to think about. But yeah, they also own obviously their Warner Brothers back catalog, which could be many different things. Don't be surprised if something weird shows up, like the brothers from Supernatural.
Yep.
Because
Sam and Dean,
they would do,
Castiel.
and they would do something like that. They'd show up, hey, we're a cartoon, we're in a game, and there'd be a joke in there where they'd be like, hey, I always wanted to be in Smash, and they cover each other's mouths. No, we're not.
Yeah,
we're not.
yeah.
But other things that they own, like New Line, they own the Mask. There's the Hobbit, obviously. Harold and Kumar. There's no way they're showing up, but you're right. Like Friday the 13th could show up. Trying to think. I was going to say New Line owns the Turtles movies, but that's Paramount that owns the actual property, so that they wouldn't show up.
Paramount and Nick now, yeah.
But yeah, like as far as Austin Powers, they own, but I don't think that's showing up. But still, I would say the Mask would be something to consider. Also, who's to say that we don't get like a Scorpion or a Liu Kang or somebody show up?
Oh, they'll put Scorpion in there for sure. If they took anything from the Mortal Kombat universe, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, maybe Johnny Cage, maybe Sonya Blade would be the characters I'd pick.
Well, and if they throw them in there, or if they don't even, let's say that they don't put those characters in because they want to delineate it and make it a little separate, how hard do you think it would be for there to be a costume for Bugs Bunny where he looks like Sub-Zero?
Yeah, honestly, and people would buy that.
Like people would buy that, or let's say they put in is Dexter's Laboratory, is that them too?
That I'm not sure. That's a show that I never got into, but I think
yeah, it is. So let's say Dexter's Laboratory, like there's a potion, and they put Dexter in there, and he drinks the potion and he turns into Goro.
Yeah,
for like 1 second.
That'd be really cool, actually.
There's so many things they can do, and they said they're going to be adding people, and this is going to be like this is a long haul 5 to 10 year game.
If they are smart, they have snagged people from the fighting game community. If they put half as much effort as the Nick All-Star Brawl did in terms of trying to compete against Smash, then this game, will it be a Smash competitor? I don't know, because Smash is a very dedicated community.
It will be in the sense of their install base is about 10 times the size.
Yeah, because obviously you can only get Smash on the Switch.
What I feel like, if you were to look at their internal memos, which they're never going to release to the public at Warner Games, they're probably have a thing in there, a milestone where they'll get a bonus, is if this gets included in like Evo.
Yeah,
and Smash doesn't, or it gets more press because of it.
Yeah, so I guess we will be watching this. So we'll see when Multiverses releases in 2022. Moving on to our next story, also a blast from the past. A new Earthworm Jim animated series is in development. It's been over 20 years since the last Earthworm Jim video game, and even longer since the last episode of the Earthworm Jim's animated series, which was fantastic, by the way. However,
which you could at one point buy on DVD for like $15. I don't know if you can, but anymore.
I think you could stream it on IMDb TV, but I'm not sure.
And I think Roku and a couple of the other channels might have it. I think Tubi might have it too.
Yeah.
But the last game, I think everybody forgets, was not Earthworm Jim 2.
Earthworm Jim 3D.
It was the horrendous one from Interplay in 1999.
Yeah. So, however, it may be finally time to come back for Doug Ten Naples, I think that's how you pronounce it, signature creation. According to Variety, a new Earthworm Jim animated series is in development by Interplay Entertainment Corporation and APA. There isn't a deal currently in place to actually produce the series. Regardless, the potential the show will revisit Earthworm Jim and his friends as they navigate the galaxy, where each planet is home to a race of anthropomorphic animals. The description also notes that Jim's ultimate quest is to find his true home among the stars, a near mythical planet called Earth. As for Jim himself, he's exactly what he appears to be, a worm who wears a high-tech suit that allows him to fight evil and live as a humanoid. The first Earthworm Jim video game debuted in 1994. It was followed by 3 sequels. An Earthworm Jim animated series debuted in 1995, ran for 2 seasons. Dan Castanella,
Homer Simpson.
provided Jim's voice on the series. Interplay's Michael K. Pardini is working with producer Aaron Billett and Mark Bodine, Jodois Passion Pictures Animation Studios, on the new Earthworm Jim project. He says, "I remember loving Earthworm Jim as a kid," said Parandi in a statement, and there's so much potential in this story universe, a galaxy full of animals battling for power. Jim is an earthworm in a universe where Earth is nothing more than a myth. His struggle to find meaning is surreal and comical, but also relatable. We are all thrilled for the opportunity to create a show for an iconic character that we grew up with, both playing on Genesis and watching on TV, added Billett. The fans have matured and deserve a current take as we bring in new audiences. This could be cool.
Couple things to say on this. One, Earthworm Jim is not a ripoff, but it's kind of a mix of 2 properties. One, Exo Manowar, which was that comic book from Valiant, where it was a caveman finds an alien suit and it gives him superpowers and intelligence. And 2, is kind of a lot like Flash Gordon. Right, like he's thrust into space and interstellar war and all this, which, I mean, it's still cool. And number 2, what does this mean for the Amico developed Earthworm Jim? Was it 3 or 4 that they're working on, the official sequel that we saw a running animation for a year ago and haven't heard from since? Like, does this either kill that property or because they were just licensing it and they took too long to get the game out, or is this game going to end up being some sort of tie-in to a TV show?
I don't know. I hope it's neither. I want it to stand on its own as a new thing.
You want Tommy Tallarico to go insane because he licensed a game that will never come out, or when it does, won't get the press it needs because he took too long.
Yeah, just ugh. Although I would love to see them do more humor. I want them to take the same route of bizarre humor as Rick and Morty. Because one of the things that I liked about the original Earthworm Jim series is it wasn't afraid to be weird. And there was one thing I will never forget. 2 things, sorry. There is a legend where Jim has to go on a quest to find the great fur-bearing trout, a giant fish who's wearing a coat, and another one was him and Peter Puppy go to the planet of easily frightened people, and the skit plays out in the most bizarre way. They land on the planet, something green, something purple, and it's just so fucking ridiculous.
It's so mid-90s, it's not even funny.
I know, it's so good. And if they brought back Homer Simpson as the voice of Jim, take my money fine, sir.
I think he's doing his one voice till he retires, and that's pretty much it, or one show. But I was thinking, what if Tommy's game's never going to go anywhere, or if it does, it's no longer going to be Amico only. They'll mandate that they'll be on everything else. What if, and we saw the animation for it and all this, a tie-in game? You know who should make it?
Who?
The team over at Microsoft that made the Battletoads game.
I can see that.
I could see a crossover. Remember Battletoads Double Dragon? Imagine Earthworm Jim and Battletoads.
That'd be fun. Actually, another developer, but the game would take like 5 years to come out. The team that did Psychonauts 2.
Yeah, I feel like they're only making their own creative stuff now.
I think so too.
But
sucks because they're a great studio.
Like, if you wanted to have a 1 year turnaround time, 1 to 1.5 years, you get that team that did Battletoads or the team that did the new Streets of Rage.
But say, yeah, that'd be my secondary pick. Would be those guys.
That's if you didn't want it to. That's if you wanted a side scroller, obviously. like a side-scrolling beat 'em up. If you wanted an action adventure 3D game that jumps around like that, and maybe go with the team that made Ukulele, like the old Rare team.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody else. I was going to say I don't know anybody else that would take that on.
Maybe Toys for Bob, but they're
They
a
don't
COD
exist.
studio now anymore.
They don't exist. And a lot of the other indie studios make good fighting games, good side-scrolling games. Not a ton of people make good 3D platformer style games. Maybe you go with that team that made Super Lucky's Tale.
Yeah, I could see that. I
mean, there's a few studios that could do it, but again, you got to think about pricing. Maybe a traditional style Earthworm Jim isn't in the cards, except for whatever the Amico team is working on. But I do think he would make for a good crossover, or have him show up in a fighting game.
Yeah. I mean, I guess we just have to wait and see. I mean, ultimately, Earthworm Jim, looking forward to seeing you real soon. Now, this is a story, is the big elephant in the room. We just covered Call of Duty on the weekend because we had to take some time with, kind of patches and everything. And the dumpster fire that keeps on giving, that is Activision. Where do we begin to start with this one? Obviously, Bobby Kotick sucks. Let's get that out of the way.
And I feel like there's a lot of hate being thrown on him for deserved reasons, but at the same time, it's not just him.
The board of directors is supporting him too, which is kind of gross.
They're bored. Also, some of the key shareholders don't give a shit. It's been very clear that some of them don't care, but it's not just that. It's whoever is at the top will install people that are like-minded individuals, whether it be consciously or subconsciously. You end up surrounding yourself with like-minded people that run your business the same way as you. They're going to need to gut not just him, but the top
board.
They're going to, well, not the board. That's the management company too, of like the main company. We're talking at the studio level too. They need to drop the top 2 executives at every single division they have, because if they don't, nothing else will trickle down.
Yeah. So obviously the big Wall Street kind of journal article, it is behind a paywall, but if you want to read more about it, you can go there.
Was this the Schreier one?
No, this,
because kudos to Jason Schreier for like every 6 months to a year, you're like, oh, I wonder what Schreier's been up to lately. Oh, he's been working on something big.
Yeah, exactly.
Like one of the last true journalists that made it through the Kotaku before they fell apart, and then ended up actually becoming a real journalist. I mean, real in quotes. You know what I mean? Considering how everybody thinks games journalism is bullshit until articles like his pop up.
Yeah, exactly. So again, this comes from the aforementioned Kotaku, but over 1,200 Activision Blizzard employees signed petition demanding CEO Bobby Kotick quit.
Update, it's up to 2,000 people now.
Okay, so the ABK Workers Alliance no longer have confidence in the leadership of Bobby Kotick. A group of Activision Blizzard workers formed in response to the company's treatment of its employees began circulating a petition earlier last week for anyone working at the publisher studios and offices to sign. It has now been endorsed by over, as you mentioned, 2,000 workers. This isn't a random anonymous petition we're talking about here. This is a public record where each worker puts their name and studio on the line in support of the statement condemning the actions of CEO Bobby Kotick and demanding for his immediate resignation. The signature are in support reads, "We, the undersigned, no longer have confidence in the leadership of Bobby Kotick as the CEO of Activision Blizzard. The information that has come to light about his behaviors and practices in the running of our companies runs counter to the culture and integrity we require of our leadership and directly conflicts with the initiatives started by our peers. We ask that Bobby Kotick remove himself as the CEO of Activision Blizzard and that shareholders be allowed to select the new CEO without the input of Bobby, who are aware owns a substantial portion of the voting rights of the shareholders. At the time of publishing, there have been over, as you said, 2,000 signatures, which is roughly, now this number is now outdated, 12% of Activision Blizzard's total workforce.
Which tells you something. 12%, that was at 1,200, right?
12, yeah.
Yeah. So that means they have 10,000 people that work there. 10,000 people that put out maybe one game a year.
Now, the article goes on.
That tells you about the corporate bloat they have to. And I'm not talking, this isn't against the employees, but that they're all forced to work on one or two games, either Call of Duty or Warcraft. That's it.
While that figure seems low, given the extent of the deeds being protested here, the fact workers are putting their names to it and potentially their jobs and careers online is doing so actually makes it a very impressive figure. Bobby Kotick has proved that he does not care about his employees and that he does not fit to be the CEO of Activision Blizzard. This petition will also not guarantee his removal, but it will show him that we are not okay with him blatantly ignoring the cries of his employees. Having a petition with Activision Blizzard consumer signatures should show him how much we think he is unfit for the position. He has taken advantage of his employees for years, and this petition is only a small stepping stone. It is absolutely horrendous that someone with such power looks past all the cries for help. This petition will also show that he has had his time as CEO, and he clearly cannot do it well. He needs to be removed.
He makes money, but and it seems to be all they care about. But he makes money at the cost of not just people to the point where he's doing actual harm. In fact, there's been stuff that came out after that article that he was directly involved in harassment to the point where he threatened somebody's life.
Yep, in a voicemail,
and it was confirmed.
Yep, and
corroborated,
yep.
and he tried to pass it off to the point where not just oh, I'll kill you. It's I can and will have you killed.
There was another one that came out where he got a woman fired because he co-owned a private jet and the pilot was sexually harassing her. He protected a studio head from a Call of Duty developer when the HR investigation said, hey, you should probably fire this person. He personally stepped in and said, And it wasn't until recently that this guy, when the Wall Street Journal article went live, that this guy, I think his name was Dan Bunting, said, nope, see you later, and hasn't been seen from since.
Was this the guy that signed all his emails, 1-800
all cock?
All cock?
I don't think so. That guy was fired pretty quickly, but it did take a while.
And the last thing that we saw as of this recording, Bobby Kotick wrote, was he had a meeting with executives and he said he'll consider quitting if he can't fix the company culture. He is the company culture.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, because people from Microsoft and Sony, I know Phil Spencer had put out a quote, I think late last week, saying they're now looking at reconsidering their relationship with Activision.
And so did the head, I'm drawing a blank on his name, the head of PlayStation. He did it first, and it's all done internally. Like, here's an internal memo we leaked. It's all because they can't overtly say something without maybe legal repercussions.
That's what I'm thinking, yeah.
But what they're doing is they're testing the waters. They're shooting a thing to say, hey, Activision shareholders, these two biggest companies that market your games and have marketing deals with you are considering not doing business with you as far as any extra money. And that was the Sony one at first. The Sony one sounded more like, hey, we're going to consider not promoting you or not fulfilling our end of the bargain when it comes to that exclusivity deals they had with Call of Duty, where you get like some stuff early, or even the marketing for it. The Microsoft one sounded a little more to the point of, hey, we might even delist you from our store and not carry your stuff. And if all they're doing is, if one company does that and then the other company does that, that's about 80% of their sales. It's not on PC for the most part for them, because on PC they have to fight piracy. They also there's an expected lower price of games on PC as well. And all it would take is Sony and Microsoft to just not promote their games and not, and bury them that way, and then people to stop fucking playing WoW. I don't understand why people still play that game when there's like, why are you playing a game that's that old, that's that boring? But that's just me. Like, I don't get the idea. I don't understand how somebody could have been a subscriber for 10 years.
Yeah,
or in this case, 15.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, obviously, there needs to be a massive change. And while I like the developers of some of these games, I understand, and we understand as an outlet, it's not everybody's fault,
well,
but
and
it's looking right at fucking Bobby right now.
Well, and the talk was originally they were trying to shift the blame internally and in the press to the Blizzard section of it, and the head of Blizzard had to step down because of it and everything. And now it's come out that it was actually very specifically one of the major problems was with Sledgehammer Games, the creator of Vanguard that we just reviewed. You know how we were saying how it seemed like there's not a lot of content here, the game isn't finished. The turmoil within that company is quite evident in the finished product of the game, or in quotes finished product, because that's the company where it came out that one of the people within the company was so harassed that they killed themselves.
Yeah, that's
and not just that, there's another and that was after somebody pretty prominent within that studio had taken illicit photos of said person while they were either drunk or drugged or had a relationship with, and decided to hand out copies of the picture at a Christmas party,
which is disgusting beyond words.
You would never do that. Nobody would ever do that. Like that is beyond the pale. And then that person was still working there.
Yeah, like there is massive problems there. I mean, obviously, we're going to keep following this story. We don't condone what's going on here.
No,
Jesus Christ.
And that's the thing. The crazy thing is 90% of the employees at all these companies are good people.
Yeah.
When we keep saying the culture, it's that trickle down. Some people are afraid to say anything. Some people have it normalized to them. You think, oh, how can that kind of humor with the all cock thing go? Think of it like this. What if you started a company or started a little studio with 5 of your best friends from college that you just finished college with, and you're going to make a bunch of small little indie games, and you're all like, you have a similar sense of humor. You're going to go a little edgy. You're going to say, shit posting to each other because you're all friends. And maybe there's a woman on the team too that was from your school, and you all had that same sense of humor. So you're all going with that. Okay, you fast forward 2 or 3 years, you've made a couple indie games, and people really like it. Hey, Activision, this big corporation comes a call, and they're going to buy you and give you more team members and more money to make a larger game or two. So your team grows. You start recruiting people that are still mostly similar to what you believe in, and your jokes. They that you're pretty good that way, as far as like they know it's all a joke, and you grow and grow and you grow, and then you know what happens? You get transferred to make a Call of Duty game. Your studio grows to 500 people. They start bringing in other people to help manage things that are working for the corporation that maybe don't have the same vision as you, or they do, but now you're bringing in people, brand new people that have never worked with you before, that don't necessarily have the same sense of humor as you, and they feel uncomfortable, but they can't say anything because they're now new people. They could easily be fired. There's no job security. There's no union. And you don't know that what you're doing is hurting people below you. That's the best case scenario for what's been happening with these studios, is that there's an ignorance to that what they're doing is harming people. And that's sort of the defense that some people were using for it, until it's come out now that these people are actively doing heinous shit and knowing that it's bad and getting away with it. And so it's a much worse situation than you can imagine. They're going to have to gut about probably 100 people from across the divisions of high level power before anything will actively change, and it probably won't. I think their company is ultimately doomed.
Yeah, I don't see this ending in a really good way for them. So I guess that's pretty much all we can really kind of say.
Yeah, short of unionization.
Yeah, like
they're a large enough company that if 9,000 employees decide to unionize, they can't just outsource.
Yeah,
they'd have to listen to them.
I'm hoping this will be a catalyst for change. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But well, there's no easy way to transition out of this, so we're gonna take a break here on This Week in Geek, and we're gonna go to my equally depressing, but in a good way, review of Koei Tecmo's Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water, which Trigger warning, it does deal with a lot of suicide. So,
Trigger warning, it's a Fatal Frame game.
yeah, it's a Fatal Frame game. So, anyway, guys, we will be back right after this. Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to talk to you about a game that I got for review on the PlayStation 5. This one comes to us courtesy of Koei Tecmo. I'm talking about Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater. This is the remaster of the Wii U game that came out during that system's life cycle, and now we get it across many different platforms. I'm looking at it specifically on the PlayStation 5. So, I am a huge fan of the idea of the Fatal Frame series, where you take a camera, you go out there, investigate paranormal phenomena, and, well, you can hurt ghosts with your camera. Your camera obscura, which can somehow deal psychic damage to these ghosts, send them back to where they came from, or exorcise them, so to speak. And if you've been listening to TWIG for any number of years, you know I have had experiences with the paranormal, and even a few photographs way back in the day when I was more active in the field of actually investigating paranormal activity. So the story to this game takes place over the course of 3 separate characters, all involving this fictional mountain called Mount Hikami, I think it is. And there is this myth about the Black Water and how it ties into these things called shrine maidens, who are spirits and used to be people who once lived on the mountain. And it gets very, frankly, trigger warning when it comes to like suicides and death. And there's more than a few times I was like, holy Jesus, that's dark. In fact, there's one scene, and this happens super early on in the game, but I'm crawling through like the intro section where you're doing the tutorial, and your lead character has the ability of psychometry or something like that. Basically, you touch an object, you can sense its psychic resonance. You can sense a person on it, so to speak. But I'm crawling through this crawl space, and the ghosts in this game always appear as ashen gray or white or whatever, that weird otherworldly look. But I'm crawling through it, and I don't know whether I was supposed to see it or if it's just meant to unnerve you. You can see the feet, just the toes of something dangling above you, but when you turn around your character to look above you, there's nothing there. But when you come back as a different character a little bit later on, you'll see people hanging from the ceiling, and it's like, holy shit. And let's just say, as someone who has had their life affected by suicide, wow, that's a thing. That's a lot to kind of take in there. And I had no idea it would get that vivid at times. There is another scene, again, really early on, where something pretty terrible happens, and you're like, oh, wow. Wow. This game does atmosphere really, really well until it doesn't. What do I mean by that is, there's a system in which you can purchase different costumes and upgrades for your camera, like different lenses, types of film, how quickly the thing loads, you know, that sort of thing. By the way, pro tip, just buy the best lens you possibly can. You'll nuke these spiritual bastards in no time. But I decided for one of my characters, hey, I've got an assload of points. Let's buy a bikini, because, hey, what screams ghost busting other than going to the beach on a lovely summer day? So that was a little bit immersive breaking, despite the character model looking fantastic. Overall, though, this is a game I had an interesting time with, and this would have been a great game to play at, like, Halloween. I saw a lot of streamers actually kind of playing this online, although I am kind of glad I waited to get through this till after seeing Ghostbusters, just because they do talk about spirit photography in a couple of different places in the Ghostbusters franchise, and that kind of made me think about, you know, spiritual auras and everything like that. Does the camera really capture the soul? Because there are some indigenous beliefs where, you know, they actually believe that to capture someone's soul is to take their, like, image. And I'm really curious to see if the belief in the game where they talk about post-mortem photographs, if that's really a thing over in Japan. I really don't know. But overall, Fatal Frame Maiden of Blackwater it's an experience, and I gotta say, it's a good one, but heavy trigger warning if you are easily disturbed. There is a lot of talk about suicide and death and grisly ways people tend to go out, but there are some genuine scares here. So if this is still your jam with the content warning of that kind of going into it, then I really think you should check this one out, because Fatal Frame Maiden of Black Water is one of the more interesting games I've played in a really long time. I'm glad it's finally being brought over to modern consoles so more people can play it. So this gets a spooky thumbs up, and definitely adjust your lenses and make sure you get those Fatal Frame shots, because all that precious damage matters.
Go crazy?
Don't mind if I do!
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
Hey guys, welcome back to ThisWeekInGeek.net. I'm your host, Mike the Birdman, and you may notice that, well, Alex isn't here right now. Actually, Alex had to take off to go catch a bus or something, so I'm taking over the weird news. However, he will be returning at the end of the show, because the magic of podcasting and radio, isn't it neat? So, as always, here at the Weird News, we like to talk about the strange and unusual things that happened around the big blue marble this past week to entertain, amuse, and most often confuse those of you, our loyal listeners. Over the last 14 or 15 years, I've kind of lost track at this point. Okay, so this first story, I first became aware of it because of Internet Today, which, like I said, is one of my favorite YouTube channels with Ricky and Elliot. So I found a different link than what they did, and this one comes from balleralert.com. What a wonderful name. Alright, and it reads, DoorDash driver in California caught taking a poop in apartment building trash can after making food delivery. In California, a DoorDash driver was caught pooping in a customer's apartment building lobby right after delivering a food order. Talk about a shitty situation. A DoorDash driver made headlines this week after surveillance footage at a Brentwood apartment building showed the delivery person defecating in the lobby. A resident ended up contacting the building's manager, saying there was feces all over the area. When they checked the cameras and investigated, the building manager saw the delivery driver pull their pants down and take a dump in one of the lobby's trash cans. What I saw, I could not unsee. I was flabbergasted at what I saw, said Lisa Stanley, the DoorDash customer for delivery, to Fox 11. She let it go. You know what they say. When you gotta go, you gotta go. And boy, did she ever, she added. You're 4 steps away from outside when there's a bush or your car, so I don't know, but not in the lobby of a Brentwood apartment building. When the customer reported the incident to DoorDash, the company responded by saying, "Thank you for your patience and I hope you're doing well. We do not condone this type of action and we are currently investigating this along with the information provided." They also mentioned the delivery driver is no longer able to deliver with DoorDash. Details of all investigations are kept private. Stanley was given a refund and a $20 credit for the experience. Okay. So it's weird. Obviously this is the gig economy. You gotta make your deliveries, you gotta get around, and that's just kind of the way when you do DoorDash, Uber, Skip, whatever. And you'd actually be surprised how often you look on Facebook Marketplace and you'll see people selling their like Skip bags or Uber bags or whatever. I get that. It's a hard job, not unlike being an Amazon driver or a UPS driver where you have to make so many stops. You gotta keep moving, and well, they don't always make time for you to go to the bathroom. In fact, I can't remember whether it was Alex or somebody who would talk to me about the pee jugs that would happen with like Greyhound. I know they covered it on a couple of different YouTube shows, or people who are working the floor at Amazon would have similar negative experiences, and even people who work in meatpacking plants would have problems as well. Obviously, taking a dump in a lobby is a pretty fucking extreme step for you to take. I mean, maybe this person was a notorious person, but I'm not putting the blame on the victim here. I'm just saying, you know, maybe this person sucks. It's weird. I've actually had a big problem with Skip the Dishes recently. And it's strange. And what do I mean by that is, because I am disabled and literally an amputee, I can't get the door. And I've had a couple of drivers just leave my order at the wrong apartment, or they don't notify me that it's here. And I'm typically relying on Blair, my roommate Shannon, or Liam to come bring it to me. Occasionally, the good neighbors will bring it by too. But we have had orders disappear, and more often than not, I'll get a call from the driver asking me to come out to, the sidewalk or wherever, like, hey, come pick up your order. I'm like, yeah, hi, in a wheelchair, not gonna happen. That's neither here nor there. I guess long story short out of all this is, well, don't take a dump when you're on the job. If you gotta clock out for a few minutes, you gotta clock out. And I guess to make a really bad joke, don't be a shitty person. So I'm glad this person got their money back, but $20 seems like a little less of what they should have got. I mean, in my opinion, I would say, fine, give me a refund and $100. But I don't know, I guess I'm just putting a price on suffering at this point. So yeah, thank you, Baller Alert, for that wonderful little bit of news there that I'm certainly sure all of us needed to hear today. Okay, so moving on to our next story. This one comes courtesy of Kotaku.com. GameStop meme stock villain buys copy of the Constitution for $43 million. Citadel CEO Kenneth Griffin is the mastermind behind the internet's latest big money stunt. Here are some words I never thought I'd have to type. The hedge fund CEO that bailed out GameStop short sellers earlier this year just secretly outbid a hyped up bunch of crypto lords for an ultra rare copy of the original U.S. Constitution. Earlier this year, billionaire Kenneth Griffin became public enemy number one for GameStop acolytes. Now he's pulled the rug out from another bizarre online clique, the Constitution DAO. As detailed extensively in a series of recent reports by Vice, crypto enthusiasts formed Constitution DAO in an attempt to meme a new decentralized form of political order into existence by purchasing a copy of the Constitution. Like the plot of a BioShock game, things quickly descended into chaos as the group, which raised a whopping $40 million, got outbid at auction by a secret buyer fronting just a few million more, leading to the most expensive sale of a historical document, over $43.2 million. There are 13 copies of the Constitution still in circulation, the last one of which sold in 1998 for less than $200,000. Today, Griffin broke the news that he was the one who thwarted Constitution DAO's plans. The U.S. Constitution is a sacred document that enshrines the rights of every American and all those who aspire to be, Griffin told Barron's in a statement. This is why I intend to ensure that this copy of our Constitution will be available for all Americans and visitors to view and appreciate in our museums and other public spaces. The document will begin its new journey at the Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas. This isn't the first time that Griffin has pissed off a bunch of very online people by throwing his money around. Back in January, when GameStop's stock hit a record-breaking numbers because of an unlikely confluence of market forces and internet memes, a hedge fund called Maiden that was shorting the stock lost out big time. Traders and GameStop meme stock enthusiasts at places like Wall Street Bets subreddit were happy to see a tank, but then Griffin and others swooped in and propped it back up with over $2 billion in new capital. As CEO of Citadel, Griffin also runs one of the largest market makers in the world, meaning it's the one actually buying and selling stocks on exchanges for clients. One of its big clients is Robinhood, the commission-free trading app that many were using to buy and sell GameStop and other meme stocks. On one pivotal day near the end of January, Robinhood suddenly started blocking users from trading GameStop stock just before it was hitting unthinkable new heights, over $300 a share the day before. Robinhood claimed it needed to temporarily halt trades to make sure it had money on hand to cover potential losses, but Wall Street Bets types have long speculated without much in the way of actual evidence that Citadel made Robinhood do it to help out Melvin. A classic conspiracy, in other words, the worst kind of all, one meant to defraud Redditors. Congressional hearings ensued and eventually an entire investigation by the SEC, or the Security Enforcement Commission. I think that's what that stands for. When Commissioner Gary Gensler finally released the SEC's finding last month, it was full of warnings but no real answers. The conspiracy theories, Twitter mobs calling on Griffin to confess persisted. Time will tell if the constitutional DAO becomes similarly committed to some sort of Griffin truthism. In the meantime, he can enjoy reading an original copy of the founding legal document currently crippling our republic. I always find it amusing when online groups like this band together for literally the lulz. Like, there is no logical reason to do this other than to say, ha, diddly, ha, ha, look what we have. And on one hand, it's actually kind of funny. I mean, just to think, a bunch of guys sitting around in their basements playing Call of Duty, drinking Mountain Dew, ordering Skip the Dishes 7-Eleven, just bought a copy of the original U.S. Constitution. That in of itself is an amazing headline. But of course, some rich asshole has to come in and bail out people because, you know, capitalist got a capitalist, and, you know, it has to look a certain way. And I don't know, it's so weird that I think this is a very uniquely American headline. Like, you don't hear anybody doing this in Canada or in Mexico or Great Britain or Japan or Australia or wherever. You just never hear it. Only in America do you breed a very specific type of meme lord willing to go above and beyond the Call of Duty to make an internet law. Like, that's some fucking commitment, and $40 million worth of commitment. Wow. That's a thing that we're just gonna have to talk about in 2021, because hey, this year's bingo card couldn't get any weirder, but hey, the year's not over yet. All right, final story this week, and I can tell Alex did this one. This one comes courtesy of Macon.com. Donkey found roaming streets of Georgia County was wearing a mask, deputies say. A donkey wearing a mask was captured on the streets of Dawson County, Georgia over the weekend. The Dawson County Sheriff's Office posted news of the incident November 14th on Facebook, adding, "It's not every day you get a call for a donkey walking in the road with a mask on. The county is northeast of Atlanta." A photo shared by the department shows the donkey was cooperative when taken into custody. Department officials were alerted to the free roaming animal when someone reported there's a donkey walking in the roadway and it has some kind of mask on. A street location was not provided, but it was near a water tower, the person said. Lisa Silvestri Casey says she was the owner of the 7-year-old donkey, and its name is Buford. He likely escaped through some boards in the fence, which have been since repaired, she says. As for the face mask, he wasn't wearing one when he left the property. It's possible 911 callers mistook Buford's halter for some kind of a face mask, she says. Hundreds of people have reacted to the Facebook post, including some who've cheered the donkey for doing his part to prevent the spread of COVID. One TV station also suggested the donkey's social distancing efforts were thwarted by deputies. It's not the first jackass wearing a mask in Georgia, one person wrote on Facebook, and shouldn't he have a lawyer present, another said. Family pets and even zoo animals have tested positive for COVID-19, the FDA says, but animals wearing protective face masks remain uncommon during the ongoing pandemic. And yeah, that is a donkey with a cop. Is that a dog? No, and I just zoomed in on the picture just to kind of double check that. He is not wearing a mask. I know Alex has told the story of the horse who followed him to school, and I always find that amusing. I'm always a big fan of like funny animal stories. When I was a kid, my next door neighbor had a dog, and the family didn't treat it very well. My friend did, because, you know, he's not a complete piece of shit. And the dog was named Siska. And I can't remember, for whatever reason, one day, my friend wasn't on the bus, but I was, and it was pissing rain. And this beautiful husky puppy, like, I'm talking like these gorgeous ice blue eyes, the most adorable little howl, just gorgeous animal. And I remember the dog came over to me while I'm waiting for my bus. And, you know, I pet the dog, talk to the dog. It's raining. I'm doing my best to keep the dog dry and, you know, happy and fine, whatever. So my bus comes and I get on board and I don't even think about it. And I sit down and then suddenly Siska is sitting beside me. And the bus driver's like, Mike, you can't bring your dog to school. I'm like, but it's not my fucking dog. So I had to take Siska back over to my friend's place and try and get her inside or try and get her someplace protected. And I did my best I could. I mean, I was in grade like 4 or 5 at this time. So what the hell do I know? However, though, years later, I learned that dog was allegedly abandoned on a side road, which was a terrible tragedy because honestly, if my family had been in the position to take that dog, I think we really should have, because that dog would listen to me and very few others. I guess because, you know, just don't treat animals like shit. But to swing back to this story, obviously, that's kind of funny. Where I'm from, having animals get out of their pens is not uncommon, be them horses or pigs. In fact, I don't think I've ever told this story on Twig. I remember I was at my friend Marty's house, Marty and Andy, which were literally just down the street from me. And they had a fairly large barn. And the barn was right beside their main house. And I don't know the circumstances that led to this, but the horse got in the house. And I remember sitting in their kitchen, staring at this horse walking down a really thin hallway. And I remember being scared because I'm like, what the hell are we going to do? We didn't want this horse to freak out. We didn't want it to like hurt itself. But, you know, there's a giant fucking horse in, you know, the hallway. What are you going to do? So yeah, I'm glad this donkey, I'm glad Buford found his way home and is being cared for, and hopefully he doesn't have COVID. So that's going to do it for this edition of the Weird News. I'm going to throw things to one of Alex's reviews, and when we come back, he's magically going to be here. We're going to go back a few hours in the past, and you can hear what's coming up on the show this week.
Our friends at Ubisoft sent over Riders Republic for us to check out, and dare I say it, it's a sports title that I like quite a bit. That is the sort of racing downhill, well, most of it being sort of downhill, amalgamation of every type of sport you can imagine when it comes to racing. So you've got BMX racing, you've got snowboards and snowmobile and skiing and rocket packs and more with this big sort of open world map that you can travel along to and find your different spots and compete in different competitions. It's a fun, weird sort of combination that honestly probably could only come from Ubisoft. Not a lot of companies take risks and make weird things like this anymore. And it's weird, but fun. I had a lot of fun doing levels that, like, there's ones that are straight up races. And then there are ones that are trick-based ones. And use different control styles that you can play as. I would suggest sticking with the default till you become really, really good at it. And the trick ones are a little bit like Tony Hawk type stuff. So you're skiing and trying to do jumps and flips in the air, grinding on things, getting your points, and finding, you know, maybe secret paths or ways to go a little bit off the beaten path and find a collectible that can give you bonus points or unlockables. You then, as you beat the levels, will earn certain stars, which can then be used to level up your character, get better sponsorship deals, get better money, unlock different cosmetics and boards and different bicycles and attachments and all the good stuff you think of when you think of a really good arcadey style racing game. And it's put together really, really well. Multiplayer works great. I didn't encounter any problems with like lobbies or jerks. One of the few times I played online with people, you know, I played with the audio on, and people weren't being assholes to each other, which is always nice and rare to find nowadays. Single player, you can play this for 10-15 minutes at a time if you really want to, and just have a moment of zen to relax at the end of the day. Or you can play for a few hours in longer sessions. The music's pretty good. The voice acting is pretty good, if not cheesy. Graphically, it's good. The load times are fantastic when playing it on, a modern current gen SSD-based PS5 or Xbox. And there's a ton of content in here. Nothing ever seems boring or too cliched or too much the same. I'm really happy with it. I hope more people end up buying it. I know this whole weekend is Black Friday weekend plus Cyber Monday week for digital copies. Ubisoft is running, I believe, sales on their website for digital copies where you can get like an extra 20% off. Things are already on sale, and then you can get an extra 20% off your whole order if you use, I think it was whatever code they have on their website there. We don't have a specific one. They're not sponsoring us. We weren't paid for this review. We just received a review copy to check out. I'm just saying right now, timing wise, if you're looking to pick something up, is a good idea, especially for Christmas. I know that there are more serious racing games out there and more simulation based type stuff, but if you're looking for a fun arcadey game that almost feels like it belongs in the PS2 GameCube era, only in full 4K, that's sort of what this is. I'm pretty happy with it, and I can see myself coming back and playing it all year with little updates that they're adding here and there, and fun things to just unwind and relax. And I'm hoping some of my friends pick up copies so that we can play together.
And welcome back here to ThisWeekInGeek.net. As we close out the show, you might be wondering, well, where the hell did Alex go during the last segment? Well, we're recording this in the past, the future, in a bizarre way.
Out of order.
Out of order, because you've got to go somewhere right now.
Yeah,
or soon, anyway.
Yeah, I'm visiting family this week for a few days to get some stuff done that I wanted to get done. Also, a bit of a reprieve from just the mundane life.
Yeah. So coming up on the site this week, we should have a Turd or Treasure at some point this week. I know I've got a few more reviews to come in.
That'll be Friday.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have some Transformers. Hopefully, I've got some D&D stuff I'm currently working on. I did get the new Pokemon. I think I got Diamond. I think it was Diamond or Pearl. I'm not sure. Either way, I'm working on the new Pokemon game. I got the newest version of Just Dance, which is always a good time and exercising there. I also got, like I've been talking about for a while, Nick All-Star Brawl. I'm just going to power through that in like a day because that was nominated by the Game Awards this year for Best Fighting Game. So good for them.
Good for them because they won't get it next year.
Yeah, next year is going to be a interesting time. And that kind of brings us up again to programming notes. We are still going to have some Earth versus Soups between now and the end of the year. We also still need to do our Future Imperfect on Star Trek Lower Decks. We'll definitely do something.
My guess is it'll probably be a recap of that, plus what we're thinking. So Lower Decks plus Prodigy.
Yeah.
In sort of one episode.
Yeah, so we'll probably do that in the next week or so. I know for Nerd to the Third Power, I have one more record with them before the end of the year. So that's coming up. Stargate Twig, we've recorded the first 2 episodes are in the can. I just haven't edited them yet.
Technically, we have 3 because we have our first episode character introductions.
Yeah.
So we've got 3 of those so far. By the time you start hearing it, we'll have 5 or so.
Yep.
So we'll be ready to go. So that'll be releasing in, if you're wondering, the content void that is middle of December to middle of January. We'll be having those pop up. We're thinking a date. Do you want to have them released on a particular day?
Maybe Stargate Saturdays, maybe.
Yeah, okay, that works.
Yeah.
We could do that, or we could do Fridays because that was their time slot on TV for like 5 years.
That would be kind of fun. So yeah, either way, you will be going through the gate with our team really, really soon. So yeah, it was a fantastic couple of episodes. Definitely some dumb moves made at times, but everybody survived so far.
Outside bones.
So yeah, you will meet my team really, really, really soon. It's been a fantastic experience. It feels good to get back into the Game Master chairs again. Hopefully you guys have listened to some of the content. We had the Shackleton Expanse out a little while ago. I know Aaron is visiting family in New Orleans right now, I think so. So we'll get him back on the show when he's back. I am trying to get some interviews with, I think, Jim Johnson over at Modiphius to talk more Star Trek adventures.
Yeah.
I am working on some other stuff, but I haven't heard back yet. So we'll wait and see.
Loose Cannon is returning to regular programming when we're back, but we are going to have one more episode, at least likely just the one. We're going to do sort of a crossover with Aaron and Darlene to talk. I think we're doing Santa
Claus versus the Martians or something.
Yeah, and I think we're picking one other special to put with it to quickly talk about two things, and that's usually we had them weekly, but with, as you can tell, all the other stuff we got going on and people taking vacations. I believe Aaron's away for a week or two anyway. It's going to be, we'll have one episode probably in December as we get closer. Again, filling the gap of when we usually have our regular programming.
Yeah, so don't worry, folks. There will still be plenty of Twig to get you through till the end of December and into January. But like I said, our last regular show should be the first week of December, and then it's holiday gift guide prep, and then that comes out on the 12th. Yeah. And then we will do something for the Game Awards when they happen in Los Angeles.
Basically, the week of the 10th and 12th, that time, you're probably going to have two big episodes, being the gift guide and the prototype, which will be the Game Awards coverage.
Yeah.
And then end of the year, January, we usually have something. It might be a review show because we're probably still going to be receiving them. We might even have stuff come in that was supposed to come in for the gift guide sometime in the end of December, simply because right now I think isn't it 7 weeks behind on American shipments of certain things
minimum, and that is wreaking havoc with so many things that we asked for this year. So
yeah,
not gonna lie, a lot of stuff this year is gonna be video games because you can get that to me with a code.
There's a package from Anchor that was requested and apparently sent in the end of August, and when I followed up, it's still in the port.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. I actually shipped a package across Canada in October. It's still sitting in a mailroom in Calgary, and I got the address right and everything else. So the mail is all sorts of fucked up.
And yet, Circuit Mess was able to DHL me a package from Croatia in 2 days. So it all depends. At certain ports, it's where it lands. For instance, the stuff that came from Europe, like Croatia, didn't go through Vancouver or LA. Because of that, it came over here to Halifax. So the East Coast is fine when you're getting stuff from Europe, like Western Europe. If you're getting anything from Asia, Australia, you are screwed.
Yeah,
because the West Coast is so backed up. Like it's impossibly backed up. But if you're getting something from the European Union, so if you're looking online to get yourself Christmas presents from like Etsy and all this stuff, and you're like, oh God, it's coming from England or it's coming from Germany or it's coming from Romania. It's never going to get here. Yeah, it will, because it's coming from the East Coast. So you should be fine. Like, as far as I know, New York, Toronto, and Halifax are the major ports on the East Coast to get things in. I don't think they're nearly as backlogged as the West Coast. I know they're not.
There was a video I saw, and it was the port of Los Angeles. There are hundreds of ships off the coast waiting to be offloaded. So it's going to be a mess this holiday season, folks. So if you can, shop local. But that's going to do it for us. Alex has to be somewhere. So again, folks, thank you so much for joining us here on ThisWeekInGeek.net. This week, we look forward to talking with you again next week, which will actually be Thanksgiving. So until next time, folks, I want you to be safe, get vaccinated. They're talking about kind of booster shots now. See if you're eligible for that.
Please don't fight over a toaster at Walmart. It's not worth getting hurt, getting arrested, getting COVID, getting whatever. It's just not worth it for a $2 toaster.
Yeah, so be smart. Look for your holiday deals. You can do a lot of shopping online. Just be respectful. So for This Week in Geek, we have been
Alex, the producer.
I've been Mike the Birdman, saying be safe, get vaccinated, and finally, as always, in the spirit of the season, be excellent to each other. We'll talk to you guys again next time, right here on ThisWeekInGeek.net.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at ThisWeekInGeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@ThisWeekInGeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.